Imagine being given a mission that no one wants to accept. Imagine being called to warn an entire people of an impending tragedy only to be ignored, ridiculed, and persecuted. What would you do? Would you keep going, even though no one would believe you? Or would you give up, doubting your own sanity? This is the story of Jeremiah, one of the most controversial prophets in the Bible. Was he a messenger from God, or just a man tormented by his own visions? Today we'll delve into the true story of Jeremiah and answer the question, was he a prophet, or just a misunderstood madman? To understand Jeremiah, we need to go back in time. The 7th century BC. The kingdom of Judah is on the verge of collapse. The Babylonian Empire grows and threatens to destroy Jerusalem. Meanwhile, the people's leaders are immersed in corruption, idolatry, and disastrous political alliances. In the midst of this chaos, Jeremiah appears, a young man called to an impossible mission. According to the biblical accounts, God chose him even before his birth, placing upon him the responsibility of confronting kings, priests, and the entire nation. But his message was not what the people wanted to hear. Jeremiah did not promise victory, prosperity, or peace. He warned of destruction, exile, and divine punishment, and for this he was treated as an enemy. Jeremiah was not only ignored, he was persecuted. He was called a traitor, a conspirator, and even crazy. Imagine the scene. He preaches in the middle of the temple that Jerusalem will be destroyed, and the people's response: laughter, contempt, and hatred. He is beaten, thrown into a filthy prison, and even thrown into a cistern to die. But even so, he does not stop. He continues to warn about what is to come, even though no one believes him. This resistance raises a question. What drives a person to insist so much on something, even in the face of so much opposition? Was he absolutely certain of his mission, or was there something more? Now let's go even deeper. Was Jeremiah simply a man of faith, or did he suffer from emotional crises? His own writings reveal an intense and sometimes desperate human side. He cursed the day he was born, questioned God, and wept bitterly over his mission. He seems like a man overcome with anguish, almost like someone struggling with severe depression. If he were alive today, some might even diagnose him with an emotional disorder. But does that invalidate his message? After all, many revolutionary figures in history have gone through similar crises. Great leaders, scientists, and thinkers who were called crazy in their time, but who years later were recognized as visionaries. And here we come to the big question. Did his prophecies come true or not? Jeremiah said that Jerusalem would be destroyed and its people taken into exile. And that happened. The Babylonians invaded the city, burned the temple, and took the Jews captive. But was this a divine revelation, or just the logical observation of a man who saw disaster coming? Was Jeremiah an inspired prophet, or just someone with a much clearer view of reality? Regardless of the answer, his story raises an important point. How many leaders, scientists, and thinkers were ridiculed in their time for challenging what was accepted as truth? Galileo was persecuted for claiming that the earth revolved around the sun. Martin Luther King was called an agitator before becoming a civil rights icon. Jesus himself was rejected by the leaders of his time. The pattern repeats itself. Those who see beyond their time are almost always discredited at first. Now stop and think. If Jeremiah were alive today, would he be listened to or cancelled? Would he be called a conspiracy theorist, a religious fanatic, or simply ignored? The truth is that every society resists change and figures who challenge their beliefs. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson in the story of Jeremiah. The world may ignore the truth for a time, but in the end, the truth always prevails. And now I want to know your opinion. Was Jeremiah a true prophet or just a man misunderstood? By his time? Leave your comment. Let's discuss this story and discover together what we can learn from it. If you like this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell for more content like this. See you next time.